Right ahead, Miss Wendy. We're on live now.
All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. I feel kind of like Nicole Wilkerson. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Writer's Wordshop. I, of course, am not Reverend Dr. Nathaniel Gadsden, but I have the privilege and the honor of sitting in for him this evening. So welcome, welcome, welcome to our Friday night Writer's Wordshop. Interesting fact for those that may not know this already. I believe the Writer's Wordshop has been in existence now for going on 46 years, I believe it is. And Nate Gadsden has, and Pat Gadsden through the Writer's Wordshop, also with Life Esteem, has managed to keep the Writer's Wordshop going every Friday night for poetry. And I was talking to Nate today when he called me and asked me to host for him. And, we were just kind of talking about different people that have come through the Writer's Wordshop, different experiences, different things. And one of the things that we were really talking about is just that it is an opportunity for people to express the therapeutic, to a verbal expression of the written therapy, I guess you could say. I just made that up, but I think that's the way to say it. But it's an opportunity for people who use writing sometimes as therapy, because it is therapeutic. It's an opportunity to share that. And so I have been with the Writer's Wordshop since March of 2017. And I only remember that date because that's actually when I moved to Harrisburg. I showed up that first Friday and I have been back ever since. And it has definitely made a difference in my life, the people that we meet, and hopefully some of them will be able to come on and share. Even through COVID, we started this platform through COVID to be able to come together and still do what we do, still write, still do our poetry, still tell stories, still share, and still lift each other up. So through spoken word, through storytelling, through song, we've had a couple of singers, songs. Well, we had a songstress, but if it's a man, would that be a songster? Anybody let me know if you know. So it's just amazing. And when you think about what Reverend Nathaniel Gadsden and Pat Gadsden have been able to do, and what they've been able to put together over the years and keep going over the years, is truly an opportunity and a platform for those of us that enjoy writing, for those of us that enjoy that, to come together, and for people to try it out. Because a lot of times people are like, I don't know, I don't think so. Go try it out. So if you are out there and you are a writer, if you are a singer, if you write poetry, if you write stories, if you write screenplays, we have screenplay screenwriters. So whatever it is, if you write anything, please consider coming on with us and sharing in with us on Friday nights, so that we can hear what you're writing. And then don't forget to follow us on Facebook at The Voice 17104. And who knows, you might be our next featured artist. We have lots of things going on in the Writer's Wordshop. This is not all that we do. So I'll be sharing some information and some things that we do in February for Black History Month, some things that we have done, and maybe we'll be able to pull up a couple of pictures. And then hopefully we will still hear from Nate this evening by way of one of the videos that he has done. We will discuss a little bit later, but let's talk about it. Keeping the Culture Alive celebration is honoring those who preserve our history. That's on Sunday, February 19th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. It's free. Let me say that again for the people in the balcony. It's free. It's free. There'll be vendors, entertainment, and more. It's at the State Museum of Pennsylvania. What a wonderful venue. It's a beautiful venue. We have the whole auditorium, and there's sort of a little rotunda there right outside the auditorium where we have vendors. We have a fashion show. Usually there's a fashion show. There's storytelling. Quite a few times we've had the Dwinneman drummers and dance group with Clark Daniels, with her dance group. So it is a wonderful, is it Clark Daniels? Lark. Okay, I'm sorry. If I messed your name up, I'm sorry. But anyway, it is a wonderful opportunity. So bring your whole family, and we'll talk about it again later. I'll make sure I bring it up and you can get the information again. I don't want you to miss that because it is going to be good. It's going to be good stuff. So this is the Writer's Wordshop, and what we do is poetry. So we've got a couple of videos for you. We'll have some conversation and things like that. I think I am also having some technical difficulties, but I refuse to be stopped by that. So we will make sure that we keep it moving. We keep it going and keep it moving. So let's see, let's start maybe with some poetry. It's a little different when it's just me, because I get to do whatever I want, I guess. But let's start with maybe some poetry, and I'll be sharing some of mine, some others, and hopefully, like I said, we'll get some people on to come on and share with us as well. I am trying to get my Facebook up so I can at least post it. And so I'm not sure. Minister Chris, I don't know if you're able to post it to my page.
Yes, ma'am. I tagged you in it already.
Okay. So it's not coming up. But, and I want to send a shout out to Minister Chris Thomas at the Voice 17104, who always makes stuff happen. And he's in the background and he's making it happen always. And so we couldn't do it without you. We could not do it without you. So thank you so much. And Minister Chris is also on Mondays. Taft and I have a show that we do called Let's Talk About It. And for anyone that is familiar with my son and I, we have a good time. Last week we played Family Feud. I think it went pretty well.
Sure.
I think that some people were using Google to answer the question, but it's okay. We won't talk about that right now. Because there apparently in North Carolina, there are alligators that are over 1,000 pounds, but I'll just leave that alone. I'll leave that alone. But whenever you have an opportunity, and you're just on Facebook or you're on the internet scrolling, stop by the Voice 17104. They have got some amazing things going on, some amazing things coming up, and the shows and things like that they have. So you don't want to miss that. And when you're looking for things that are going on, that's where you want to start. Now, if you want to know what's happening in the city of Harrisburg, surrounding areas, and throughout, you might want to try the Voice 17104 first to see what people in your community are doing. So let's start with, I'll start with a poem, and we will go from there and see what we come up with, because apparently I'm not able to do that either. Okay, so this piece is called Heirloom Tides. Heirloom Tides. I've walked 1,000,000 miles and crossed oceans. I've even drowned in them. I've lost my babies. My tears are the high tide. I've carried and still carry other babies on my back, carefully tying knots to secure their dreams and their future. My mind plays and replays phrases and words that I don't care to recall, or maybe I've not yet heard. My pen moves incessantly. My eyes are my ink and my heart is the paper. I collect words, praying to unearth the perfect poem for peculiar situations. I am a motherland experience infused with fragmented cultures. I am Saturday morning hair grease and pressing comb certified, Big Mama's night musk mixed with Catawba reservation, red dirt, and the sounds of a summer revival provide incense and a soundtrack for my craft. Summers in Pontiac, Michigan, and sleepovers with older cousins introduced me to pink champagne, cussing, and eyeliner, tools for some of life's most essential moments. I am macaroni and cheese and collard greens. I am cassava, soya, and fufu. I am sushi and tiramisu. I am the indispensable esoteric pull me up. A literary docent, my libretto sings the songs of my ancestors, hums the tunes of their passage, and engraves my story in the walls of a legacy built on foundations of strength and hope. My life is the braille for those whose shoulders I stand on. My existence is the sign language for the voices that were silenced and the words that were never spoken. I am humbly gifted with a burden. My pen moves incessantly, cataloging my testimonies of this life. My eyes are the tear-moistened ink within a quill that never dries and never stops asking. My heart is my paper where sentiment and words hold communion and poems are born. Angels edit my experiences. God is my publisher on high. My unwritten poems are the sounds of raindrops on a tin roof falling lyrically in my thoughts and dreams. For these poems, I'll walk another 1,000,000 miles. It's low tide and I labor for the birth of the poems that are happening around me. And that is Heirloom Tides, and it is taken from, I don't know if you can really see it, but it's taken from my book, Clouds Before Fire and Smoke Before Rain. And I published this in, I want to say 2017. It's 2017, I want to say that's exactly when it was published. In 2017, and it is a book of poetry, short stories, and a letter, and it also has the prologue to my novel, The Tempest is Raging, which has yet to come out, and I am working on it, and I should hopefully have that out by the end of the year. And for anyone that's listening, if you've ever thought about, and a lot of people often say, oh, you know, I thought about writing a book, or oh, I've always wanted to write a book, or, you know, or anything like that. It's easier than you think. It's easier than you think. I mean, it's not something that you just, you know, that you're going to just be able to just go and do without putting some work into it. But I think now is the time for us to start. I think that now is the time for us to start putting our pen and paper together. Now is the time for us to start cataloging, I guess you could say, the things that we do. I think it's really important that we put ourselves out there, because there's so many things going on and so many things that I guess maybe we miss. And my generation, we had our grandmothers and some people, their great grandmothers, to tell stories, to pass on information. And culturally, that's what we did. We passed on our information. And so one of the things that we do at the Writers Wordshop is we have, I believe it's in October, which is National Storytelling Month. And we have a storytelling event. But we also, week to week, as we meet, we also have opportunities to share your stories. So I think everyone has a story to tell. And I think that we should certainly do that. I think we should certainly share our stories with others, not just our families, not just our children, and things like that. But sometimes your story, if it's not lethargic, but if it's catalyst change, if it is a change for you, then perhaps it will be a change and healing for someone else. And so I think it's a good opportunity to share your story with others. So please consider sharing your stories, consider letting others hear what you have to share. I want to say hello to Danietta Najoli in Ohio. Hello, Danietta, and I know that you've got a very interesting story that hopefully we will see and hear from you very soon to talk about. You know, you've had a most interesting event not too long ago. So please, by all means, give us a call and we'll look for you one of these Fridays as well to hear from you and to hear your story and your experience that you just had. I think also for me, in sharing my story, in sharing my book, my poems are personal. I don't I don't know how to write fictitious poetry. I can write a short story or a novel or a story, a fiction story, but my poetry is always true life. And so sharing it, initially I was, kind of like, holding on to it, like these are my stories and my secrets and things like that. But I think sometimes putting it out there and sharing it with others, it helps. You don't hold it in. And I think a lot of times that's what we do. I think, once again, I keep using the word, but culturally, that's what we do, because that's what we've been taught to do. So I guess, and I've never shared this portion. It's in the book, and those who have the book have seen it, but hopefully you all don't mind and will indulge me. But I've never shared the acknowledgments and read the acknowledgments. So if it's okay with you all, blink twice if it's okay. All right, thank you. So I'll share the acknowledgments, and this is again from my book, Clouds Before Fire and Smoke Before Rain, and it kind of tells maybe why I shared, and maybe a little bit about myself. So these are the acknowledgments, not a poem or anything like that, just the acknowledgments from my book. To God, the giver of every good and perfect gift. To my parents, William Howard Taft Washington Jr. and Randy Massey, for nurturing my creativity and not belittling my imagination, for telling me I could be anything I wanted to be, even when I wanted to be a garbage man. Little did you know then that my song, What You Gonna Get from the Garbage Man, was the first of many songs and poems to come. I was 3 or 4 then. Thank you for acknowledging my imaginary friends and pets. In parentheses, though, I insist that Bill had the imaginary mouse. That's a whole nother story. My brother had an imaginary mouse. You have consistently supported and encouraged my creativity and imagination. I no longer want to be a garbage man. I just want to write about the stuff they get. I do, however, still have imaginary friends. Who knew then that they would be the grown-up characters in my stories today? To my big sisters, Jackie, Jack, Tina, Teen, and my babe bruh, Bill, William Howard Taft Washington III, Billy Bill or Dollar Bill, for supporting my ideas and celebrating my individuality when the world couldn't understand me, for not making me feel like the weird kid. To Grandma, Hazel Ramadan Franks, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Every young woman needs a grandma for a confident, listening ear and best friend. I'd like to think I finally recognized the warning signs. Life would be much easier if you were here to point them out. To my future, Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord." We started this journey 7 years ago. If 7 is the number of completion, then 8 must mean a new beginning, infinity. Thank you in advance for being a part of what God has planned, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and future that you hope for. To my inner circle, thank you. Thank you for listening, for showing up, for clapping and snapping, for previewing, reviewing, and for liking my videos and posts. Thank you for being one-person audiences when I needed to practice, and for being publicity managers, photographers, and cheerleaders. Thank you for allowing and at times insisting that I be true to who I am. I am a writer. I am a poet. I am an author. I am a speaker. It's because of each of you that I find courage in writing and speaking about what I see and feel. And that's just the acknowledgments from my book, Clouds Before Fire and Smoke Before Rain. And I don't know why I wanted to share that, but I just want to say thank you to the people who have done so much and mean so much in my life, and who kind of put the stories together. So I'm sure everyone must, I don't know, but if you're listening and it's otherwise, feel free to add in the comments and we can talk about it. But everyone must have people in your life that you feel have shaped who you are. And I think that's what we write about, experiences that have shaped who you are, or experiences that tell a story of how you got to where you are today. And it's amazing, because when you start to tell those stories, it makes sense. it makes sense of why you might do things the way you do them, or why you may feel the way you feel about them. In my acknowledgments, I thanked my sisters, my two older sisters, my younger brother. And it's funny, my father, who is deceased, his birthday would have been January 25th, and he would have been 80 years old. And my father's been gone for 30, excuse me, for 34 years. And every year, my sisters and brother, who live in different parts of the country, every year we get on the phone together and we say happy birthday, and we have a toast to our dad, and we say happy birthday to him. And we're on the phone for a couple of hours, and we laugh and talk, and we reminisce about things that have happened. And so, though we've had very similar experiences, I appreciate that we are very, very different. We are all like oil and water. Not that we don't get along, we do, but we're just very different. And so it's those experiences in life and those things that we've seen, we've experienced, people in our lives that have shaped us. And that's what makes us who we are. I'm grateful for those experiences, because that is what gives birth to the poetry that I write. And so it's important to me to be able to share those stories, but also to acknowledge the people. And if I had 10,000 pens, I would not be able to write and acknowledge every person that has truly made a difference in my life. And so I believe you know who you are. I pray you know who you are. I pray that I thanked you in the process while you were in my life at that time. And so I'm just grateful for all the people that have come into my life. Having said that, I shall step off of my soapbox for a moment, and we will, if Minister Chris, if you're ready, we can play a video I would like to share. We'll share a video with you, maybe come back and talk about it a little bit, and see what we have, and we'll go to some more poetry.
One of the only things more difficult than death itself is to be forgotten. Or perhaps to plant legacy seeds and never see your roses blossom. To never unbox your gift before your coffin. We all deserve to be honored while we are still alive. To witness the budding gratitude of loved ones with open eyes. You deserve to be celebrated like you're already gone. To be given your flowers while they are still flourishing. While you can still smell the sweet scent of photosynthesis branching out of the purpose you're rooted into and the fruits you've produced. So may I give you your flowers while they're still in bloom. A bouquet package delivered and handed to you in honor of the effervescent existence of your truth. May this be a reminder that your words and actions live on beyond being 6 feet and entombed. You are worthy of being handed yours while you are still alive. While you can still sniff the sweet fragrance blossom in time, a reminder of how you bloomed before you were called to tune, from darkness to light. How you passed on the baton for the next generation to take flight, a relay race of time between the lines of from and to, the legacy of how you actualized into truth. You have the right to leave this earth knowing that your presence was appreciated, that it made a difference, that it meant something to someone while there's still air in your lungs. What would it look like to normalize honoring those who mean something to us before they transition, so that they never question our love while they're still living? It's easy to take our loved ones for granted when we are caught up in our day-to-days. But in the same breath, the next breath is never guaranteed to stay. So before the leaves fall off of their trees and they branch out and reach into the heavens, let them know that they are a blessing, that their mere essence was a gift. May death never be the reason you appreciate the fact they lived.
Wow. Wow. Minister Chris, I don't know if that was already cued to play, or if you cued it after I started talking, but how perfect of a video to share as I was talking about acknowledging and hopefully giving people their flowers while they still yet live. I want to say, speaking of flowers, the beautiful bouquet in my life. I want to say hello to Randy Massey, to my mom in Rock Hill, South Carolina, who is watching us and who has joined us. Hi, Mom. Thank you for joining and for always joining. Whenever I'm on or doing something, I appreciate you and love you for that. That was a beautiful poem, and I love the music. And I think it's really interesting because that sets the tone. That set the tone for the piece that he read, and that's a wonderful thing. We have had maybe a couple of years ago, maybe right before COVID, of course, we were meeting every Friday at the Midtown Scholar on the corner of 3rd and Verbeck, and one of the people that would participants in the Writers' Wordshop, she came in one day with her parents who were visiting, and I guess a family friend who brought his piano, and he played his piano as we did our poetry. And of course, that's always a wonderful experience to be able to do that. So that's Powder, and she also is a poet. It's not her term, but she also is a poet. So he came and he played his piano as we did our poetry, and it was a wonderful experience. So if you ever get a chance, or you can do your poetry and this on your phone, play some music in the background and try it. That also adds a great touch to the poetry and the things that we do. There are so many poems and so many people that have come through the Writers' Workshop. We have had young people. We've had people whose style is maybe a little more from my era, from the hip hop era. So you can kind of hear that influence. We had a couple. It was a husband and wife, and they were older in age, and they had traveled the world. I don't remember exactly where they were from, but he wrote a book, I believe. Now I'm going to get it all messed up, but he wrote a book about their travels and the different things that they did. And they would come in and, we would watch him help her, to her seat and out of her seat. And she would also share her poetry. But they had a wonderful story of their travels and the life that they lived. So we've just seen so many people come through. One of the things that we also have done in our, one of the other things that we've also been able to do in the Writers' Workshop is to have a writer's retreat. And the writer's retreat is at Elizabethville College, and it's at the Bowers Writers House. And we meet there. It's the first Saturday. Our date may change, but it was the first Saturday of every other month. And the beautiful thing about it is, first of all, it's sort of off in set back in, amongst trees and things like that. So of course it is appropriately called the Writer's House because it looks and feels like a house that you would go and sit in. It's cozy, it's comfortable. In the dining room, there's this huge solid oak table. The oak is about that thick. There's no moving that table is what I'm saying. And it is absolutely beautiful. So one of the things that we do, we get there about 9 and we have continental breakfast. And then we go into this other room, which is right on the other side, it's like a sunroom to the dining area. And we sit around the table, we talk about things that we're working on. We talk about who we are, what we're doing, different things. And then we begin to go through whatever, either it's a lesson or a prompt or something like that. We talk about that. And then we're given a prompt. And from that prompt, we're given 45 minutes to write. So everyone, and I think there's usually 10, 15, 20 of us at most. From that prompt, we spread out in the house. It is big enough that everyone has their own corner. There's little small rooms that you can go into. Someone sat at the piano and wrote. They didn't play, I don't think. There's couches, there's chairs, there's tables. And it doesn't look like a classroom or a schoolroom or anything. It's a home. It's someone's home, or it was someone's home that was, I believe, donated to the college for the purpose of writers. And so we write for 45 minutes. Then we come back together, and that's the living room. So we come back together and we share what we have written. What Minister Chris Thomas is on it. Oh my goodness, he is on it. He is the best. But we share what we've written. And then we always, afterwards, we always have constructive criticism. We critique it. And some people, if they're working on writing something towards a book or whatever it is, we talk about what it is that they're doing. That is Taft and Miss Lynn, and we had the young people there that participated, and we just have a good time. We have lunch together, we sit, we break bread together, and then we go back to the table, the round table again, and we talk about it. We have another prompt, or if we're closing up or whatever it is, but we spend a day writing, we spend a day talking about it. And, there's a saying that says iron sharpens iron. And basically you need iron to make other iron sharp. And so that's Keontae Rick's writing, finding a quiet place to write. And an excellent poet. He is an excellent poet. And he has a new video out. I think I saw the other day. He has a new song out as well. And a wonderful story to tell. Just a wonderful story to tell. So we have an opportunity to have our peers, people that we look up to as well, those people who've made it to where we're trying to go, and people who are just starting, because wherever you are in your writing journey, wherever you are, it's important for everyone else in the journey. So as we share our stories, and people share their stories, and sometimes very personal stories, sometimes things that they're working on, it could just be anything. But as we share our stories, we have an opportunity to be in a very safe space, very safe place with individuals and people who understand what we are going through and what we're doing, and understanding the beauty of writing, what's on your heart and what's on your mind. That was another time that we went. We just have, each time it's a different group, and it takes on a different feeling for who's there, but we have an opportunity to just share our writing. And so that is something that we have talked about doing and getting back to doing again. And I think it's important. I think it's important, and I think that it's a very good thing, because from that writers retreat, we've had other opportunities to share our poetry with others. Myself, Reverend Gadsden, and Ro Brady had an opportunity to do a class for Harrisburg Area Community College. And we had a chance to do a class in spoken word and poetry. And we actually did 2 classes where we spoke about and talked about and taught the different techniques and styles of writing, of sharing your poetry, and things like that. So it is a wonderful opportunity. As I said, no matter where you are in the writing process. And let me say this, if you are at the very beginning, and let's say someone like Dr. Gadsden, Reverend Gadsden, who he's pretty much arrived. It helps him because he remembers where he started, and maybe it helps him to come up with a new poem. It takes him back to the beginning. So I think that writing is one of those things that it's a cycle. it's a cycle, and you never fully get to where you want to be. You keep writing and you keep sharpening your skills, and you keep starting over, and you do it again and you do it again. And every time you publish that book and it's time to start again, you're back here again, starting again. Or maybe it's not higher and lower, but it's beginning, this way. It's horizontal and not a vertical climb, but a horizontal movement that you start here and you keep going. You keep going and you publish that book, you go back here, you start again, and you keep going. So once we get the writers' retreats going again, I hope that you will consider participating. I hope that you will consider sharing. And this just in, you also want to consider, for those who are not poets yet, though we will help you to become a poet, or storytellers, start journaling. It's just that easy. Just start writing down the things that you're thinking about, whatever is on your mind, and whatever you've been thinking, just start journaling. So I think that would be a good place to start if anyone is thinking about, where do I start and how do I do this? The other question that often comes up is, what do you do for writer's block? I don't know that I think that there's a such thing as writer's block. I think that sometimes maybe if you're trying to force a square peg into a round hole, then it would be difficult. But if you stop trying to write, like, if I'm trying to write a poem, say I want to write a poem about poinsettias, it might not come to me right then and there. So instead of pushing this poem about poinsettias, I write about whatever is really on my mind. So maybe the poinsettia, as I'm looking at one, but maybe the poinsettia is not what's on my mind. Maybe the fact that my dog is over here messing with the blinds and bothering the blinds is on my mind. So I'll start writing about that. I think that it's important to write what's on your heart. Then the thing that you have in your mind to write about will be easier to write about. But sometimes what's in your heart has to come up first. So get a journal, get a notebook, get a binder, whatever it is that you write on, and just write that. It doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to be in the best grammar. That's the beauty of poetry. You can just write anything you want and it's correct. You can write it anyway because it's you and your expression, and other people may not get it, or they may get something different out of it than what you intended. Their interpretation may be different. However, it is still your poetry. Excuse me. Why is it that whenever you're on, everybody wants to act up? So anywho, from that, from the Writer's Retreat, I want to share a poem with you that was born in the Writer's Retreat. And this one is called Reckless Abandon. And I don't even remember the discussion that came up, but the discussion that came up, and it was basically about things that we won't do anymore, things that you don't want to do anymore. And so this was things that we won't do anymore. What do you want to give up? So before I start that, hey, Neil, how are you?
Hey, hello. How are you?
Long time no see.
Yeah. It's been a lot going on in my life.
Okay. How's the writing world treating you?
Good so far.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Okay. Well, I am Reverend Dr. Nathaniel Gadsden this evening.
Okay.
Trying to fill some pretty big shoes. So I'm glad that you came on. And I was talking about our Writer's Retreat. And Neil, you are where? Tell us again where you are.
North Carolina, High
That's
Point.
right. High Point, North Carolina. So, and we had talked, Reverend Gadsden and I and the group had talked about starting our retreats up again and doing it this time in a way that we can do, we can do either a Zoom or some way to do it virtually as well, because from COVID, one of the things that, one of the blessings that came during COVID was that we started doing it in this manner, in this way. And we're able to have Neil Owens, who is an excellent writer. Oh my goodness. And I know I say it every time, but anytime when you show up, your name comes up or anything, I think about that story where the guy had 17 minutes.
17 seconds.
17 seconds. That's right. 17 seconds. I promise you, I can't tell you how many people I've told about that I'm like, listen, you have got to hear this. You've got to see this. And is that out yet?
No, I'm not releasing that until September.
Okay, because I think when you first told us, it's been about 1.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and for anyone listening, that goes to show. So I heard this story. He told us a story and he shared the story with us right here on the Writer's Workshop. And he said then that it was going to be 2 to 3 years before it was released.
Right.
And I was so caught up in this story. That all this time, and I think you maybe shared like 5 or 10 minutes of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was so caught up in the story that I'm still, every time I see him, I'm like, I just need to know. And of course, I'm not going to tell it, but one of the first things you said is just because I'm telling this does not mean that you know what happened in the story.
Right.
I was like, man, already I'm just, that was, I think the first line that you said, and I was like, already I'm in, I'm in for a penny, in for a pound. So, Neil, will you be sharing something with us tonight?
Sure, I can share something. Yeah.
Okay. So I was talking about the retreat, and I wanted to share one of the poems that came from the retreat, and it was one of the prompts where Nate said, something that you will give up. It was, what are you no longer willing to do? I think was the prompt. And we could do whatever, we could take it and go whichever direction that we wanted to go with it. So this is the poem that came from that. And it's called Reckless Abandon. Reckless abandon. I don't know how to do it. I wish I could, but a life lesson of holding it all in, carry yourself like this, being seen and not heard, makes it hard for me to be footloose and fancy free. Grandma said that everything that glitters ain't gold and not every shut-eye is sleep. She would add that every goodbye ain't gone. Trained to compose my feelings, I don't yell out loud. An expert silent crier, my tears carry sound between the halls of solitary confinement and loneliness. I've allowed another goodbye to not be gone. And though I knew the glittering wasn't real, it turns out I must be the fool's gold. A patron of workshops, my idle mind has the devil directing seminars on subjects beyond his grasp. Using the back of my hand to wipe the sorrow from pride, I can't let them see me down. My desire for peaceful realms with productive nocturnal visions fall fast to the wayside. I am sleepwalking through my days and restlessly evaluating and examining my last and consequently next move at night. They say nothing comes to a sleeper but dreams. What happens when you're too tired to dream? I'm not sure who they are, but somehow they've got me compartmentalized, looking for sanctions to feel my own feelings openly and unapologetically. What happens when you don't even take stock in your own dreams? I've invested in too many personal funds that are incapable of producing a return. I've given from the heart and forgot to refill myself. So I'm left with recycled disappointment and refurbished vulnerability. And I remember, I've been here before. I've stood on this very ledge, promising not to visit this time and space again. This feeling accompanies me to this place. Disenchantment is the railing that lines this bumpy road. Opposition provides the scenery. Words that hurt, shattered promises sprinkle shards of light in a dusky sunset. Truth, in an attempt to prevail, is choked out by the density of poor intentions. A river of complacency neither flows nor runs, and dreams unimagined are damned to go nowhere. 11 things I will no longer be available for. 1, I resigned from being the voice of reason for illogical situations. Who's the fool? 2, though I am closing a door, I will no longer see it as the end. 3, I am vacating my self-imposed position of guardian of the broken, defective, and dilapidated. 4, I will no longer find fault in quitting things. 5, somewhere there's an open window. 6, the end is not always goodbye. 7, I am self-excluding myself from those actions that hold me back. 8, goodbye should be the end. 9, I take leave of absence from doubt of myself and my situation. 10, I will no longer be a soft place to land when I have no soft place to land. 11, instead of reckless abandon or careful consideration, I'll use reckless consideration and careful abandonment. And that is reckless abandon. Things I'm no longer available.
Reckless abandon.
Yes.
Reckless abandon. Ah.
That's it. That's it. That was probably, so that was before COVID. I would say that was probably 2018 that I wrote. And it just came from Nate telling us a story, and he said, what is it that you're no longer available for? And so that's what I came up.
Reckless abandon. Wow.
Yes, yes. So Neil, what are you working on? Tell us a little bit about what
I'm working on because the storyteller was coming out in September, but right now I'm working on my follow-up to that. Will be probably another year or two later after that, which is called the Rise of the Fourth Reich.
Okay. So I noticed that you write and then you have time. Do you hold on to it? Because I can't imagine how you can hold on to that. But do you hold on to it for that period of time because you're already working on the next thing, or do you hold on to it? Are you still working on it in the process?
No, it's ready to go. I hold on to it because I will do some marketing with it.
Okay.
And I need time to do marketing. So that's one of the reasons why I'm pushed it back. So while I'm waiting until September, I'm working on my next book.
Okay. Well, like that window behind you, we're all like peeking in, like, what's he writing now? What's he got? What's he got going on? What's coming up? What's next? How or when, at what point did you know that, and I'm assuming that you know that that's your call, that writing is your calling. At what point did you know?
Well, I wrote my first story in the 5th grade, but I never considered writing a profession. I mean, I just never did that. But as after 34 years of working with at-risk youth, I decided, to follow my passion. It's my passion, and it's something I wanted to do, and it's something I said, let me just do this. Let me just do it, So I decided to just give up everything and go for it. Just put everything in and just write.
Wow.
And that's what I did. It took me 5 years to finish my first book. It took me 5 years to finish it. It was a lot involved with that. I mean, it was a lot because once you learn how to be a writer, you go into, you can put together a story, but then there's also the technical aspects of writing and all of that. So there's a lot to go in, a lot of things, technical things. So I went through a lot. Sure. But got it done, and it's been good.
Okay.
So now I'm just continue to focus and go for things. Wow. But as an independent writer, as an independent author, it's very challenging. We face a lot of challenges independent because there's so many books out there, and then you got to try to get yourself exposed, and you're independent. And if you don't have a major platform, it's a tremendous challenge.
Absolutely.
You get your book exposed.
Absolutely. And I think that a lot of people don't realize, that is the case, and the difficulty in it. I had spoken earlier, I guess I was talking to myself a little bit, but I was talking about people who want to write, and there's two sides to that. Like you said, there's the technical part of it, and then the difficulty in getting yourself exposed and getting yourself out there. But there are also people who just feel like I can't because it's so far-fetched. And maybe 20 or 30 years ago, without the technology that we have now, and things like that, it may have been far-fetched. I don't think then you heard as many people just putting books out as you do now, but it is definitely feasible. But I think there's, as you said, there's another side to it as well. So let me ask you this. As a writer, so far in your writing career, what has been one of your highest moments? What has been one of the things that has happened that you, when you knew I'm doing the right thing?
Well, my debut novel won 3 awards. And when it won the reader's favorite bronze medal, that's a big award. That's a very prestigious award. Traditional publishing houses put their books into that contest. So that was a big one. And once that was done, it was like, wow, okay. And people were trying to make me change, because when I was writing this book, people, you go into work, you go into community, writing communities, and you get a lot of good positive feedback and criticism, all that kind of stuff. But people were trying to change me. I noticed that a lot of them were trying to change my writing style. They were trying to make me that you're not supposed to write that way. You don't write novels that way. That kind of stuff. So I was like, wait a minute. I said, no, I'm not following anything you talk about. I said, no, I'm going what I feel, what makes me. I don't care. This is what I'm going to do. So, and that's what I did. I stuck to my guns, believed in myself, and my debut novel won that award. I mean, what hurt me was that we had COVID, and I was supposed to go down to Florida to walk across the stage. A lot of media, a lot of exposure there, but I couldn't go because of COVID. It was canceled.
Right.
And then so it was set up to go to the following year, and still COVID had canceled that. So I ended up missing out on that opportunity, which was something I really wanted. That would have been a big opener for me,
Well, congratulations. As a writer, we do know, one, for it to have been your debut novel. And that's exactly what I was asking when I asked the question. I was hoping that that's what you would bring up. But one, to be your debut novel, but it's a very prestigious award. So congratulations again, congratulations. And it is, when you talk about your writing style, you definitely have a different writing style, but that's the beauty of it. And I think that, people have to also be careful of, say, reading, Maya Angelou's book, or reading poetry by, I don't know, Nazaki Shange, or anything like that. And then if you keep reading that and then you try to write like that, that's not yours. That's not your style. It won't flow. But your stories, even when you tell them in your voice, your stories, that clearly is you. It's clearly you. It's clearly your storytelling. And I think that is so important once you find your style. And usually your style is probably going to be the one that's in your voice. If when you're reading it, you feel like I got to change my voice to make this work, that's probably not your style. That's probably not you. So I think that that's so important to do that. And so I'm glad that you stuck to your guns. I'm glad that you wrote it and you kept it the way you did. And I think that that's something that as writers, I don't think that we really have a choice. You've got to be true to yourself, even if it's a fiction story. There's something in that fiction story that's still you, still very much you, because you're pouring it out, you're giving birth to it. And you can't do something that's not true to who you are. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for sharing it and sharing your stories with us. And tell us, since it's just you and I, we got time. Tell us about your writing style. What do you consider your writing style to be? And what is it that people want to change?
Well, a lot of them, some say that I write like a sort of like a screenplay. One person says it's like more like a screenplay, and you don't write novels that way. You know what are you talking about? You know, so you know it's a lot. It's a lot of things because you find a lot of people want to be writers. Like you said, they try to be Maya Angelou, or they try to be a James Patton. They try to be what these people are, and they try to put it into this one box. This is how you're supposed to write. You know, this is what they've been indoctrinated as. This is how you're supposed to write. This is how you write a novel. This is how you write story. It's just like you're sitting up there trying to say, this is how you're supposed to shoot a free throw. You know, Rick Barry shot free throws underhanded. You know, so I mean, you know, there's no correct way to do the right thing. And that's what people gotta understand. You know, that's the bottom line, is that so you don't have to go to, but everybody, you know, some people aren't bold enough to step out and do that, you know, because they say, hey, you know, you're not supposed to do that. That's not how you're supposed to do it.
Absolutely. No. Absolutely. Well, again, thank you for keeping your voice and for doing it that way. And I get that. I get that, and I understand it, because even with me, with the poetry and the short stories and the things that I do, you know, it's not typical of what you would hear, but I'm not a typical person. And so I don't know how to do, you know, I don't know how to do typical, you know, and so I would be that underhanded free thrower and a lefty, a southpaw at that. So I get it. I definitely get it. I think I missed my 30-minute mark for the last video. So Minister Chris, if we can have a video, and then Neil, when we come back, I will set you up for you to share with us. Is that okay?
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Minister Chris, can we have a video if you are yes.
What I'm saying to you this morning, my friend, even if it falls your lot to be a street sweeper, go on out and sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures. Sweep streets like Handel and Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will have to pause and say, here lived a great street sweeper who swept his yard.
Black like bebop and Bessie Smith blues. Black like Bad Morning and Bouquet by Langston Hughes. Black like the beatbox of Big Buff and Biz Marquis. Black like the black love of Ozzie Davis and Ruby Dee. Brilliance. Brilliance like the resilience of a runaway slave, wading through waters to cover the tracks that they made. Brilliance like the millions who marched on D.C., getting bussed in as Bayard Rustin gathered the crowd for King's dream. Because black excellence is not just a testament of the tenacity of the will, it is the rule and not the exception of an exceptional people who still have to navigate a landscape that was painstakingly designed. So we sell fate with no fail-safe, even though we never felt safe enough to shine. But shine we will, and illuminate in the darkness like black gums against gold grills, in mathematics and science, as architects and engineers, as homemakers, as risk takers, as innovators and pioneers, from Basquiat to Barat, from the Black Madonna to Ma'at, from Tallahassee to Timbuktu, from St. Louis, Missouri to Mogadishu. Black brilliance is what I see. Black brilliance is you. Black brilliance is me. I am Black brilliance.
All right, that was a mic dropper. I like that. I like that.
Black brilliance.
Yeah. Black brilliance. That was really good. You know, I like that we're able to play the videos, because I often like to go back and replay, you know, and see in here and see who it was and then Google them. and see other works that they've done. So we have Neil Owens, award-winning writer, author. And Neil, tell us what you're going to share, and let's hear from Neil.
I'm gonna share a little. It's one of the short stories called Eleanor's Party. It's in the storyteller that'll be coming out in September, and this is like near the end of it, so it's going to be like probably a page and a half. But it's the end. It's a story of guy named a couple. This is a guy and they're young and they live in the ghetto. Eleanor has a party every year in the ghetto, and they built this. She bought this building. She bought a home, a dilapidated house, and the unemployed people in the workers, the unemployed carpenters and electricians and all that, they fixed the house up for free. I mean, well, there was some special things that Eleanor did for them, but we don't get into that. But that's just a part of the story. And but they did all this. And they put a pool in the house and all this. I mean, it was just something that they created. So this is a party that happens. I'm just going to get to near the end of the story of this party. Near the end is Daisy and her boyfriend. And Daisy is a character in herself. Her boyfriend has been kind of like a wuss, and Daisy dominates him. Has been dominating him, so on. And so he sees this party as his only avenue to try to escape her, because he can't go anywhere unless Daisy goes with him, and she doesn't go anywhere except to Eleanor's party. Okay, so this is where he's at. So I'll pick up the scene. And here we go. Moments later, I was rolling the joint when I saw Daisy, seemingly trying to catch her breath from climbing 2 flights of stairs. Her eyes swung in search. Unlike last year, I didn't try to hide but stood my ground. She stomped like an elephant toward me with a fist ball. Nigga, where you been? You better get your skinny ass back downstairs to the card table. The people around me weren't startled and kept doing what they were doing because they had already seen Daisy kick my ass a few times. She leaned her neck toward my face and yelled, nigga, if you don't get your ass downstairs now, I'm going to kick your ass down. I took a step back with the bold expression. You ain't going to do nothing but hit this joint and then take your ass back downstairs and wait for me. She froze with her eyes and mouth wide open, seemingly shocked by the words that came out of my mouth. Here, take a hit. After a couple of long puffs, she handed the joint back. I finished the rope as she watched. Now, go back downstairs and play cards. I'll be down later. She didn't say a word. She turned and went back downstairs. I lit another joint, got my freak on with Lucinda again, and then went downstairs as people were blowing whistles to the song by the Soul Searchers. I paused on the second floor when I saw Olive Branch, the cutest girl on the block, whom I had a crush on and believed she had the same before I hooked up with Daisy. She was in the arms of her boyfriend. She looked at me like she still had the crush, but then it could have been that she only felt sorry for me. I smiled and continued to the first floor. At least 40 people were frolicking in a 10-person pool. Eleanor was giving shotguns. Davy was feeding her face like she hadn't eaten in days. I looked at her with the mind of a new man and authoritatively said, let's go home. She quickly followed. It was the first time that I wasn't walking behind her. Mind you, our path was only around the corner, but Daisy didn't like to walk further than across the street, so she drove like always. I hadn't driven Daisy's car because she wouldn't let anyone drive her 10-year-old Volkswagen. But that night I said, give me the key. I'm driving. She handed me the key without a word. You know what? We're gonna walk. Stunned, she said, walk. Yes, walk. Why? Because you need to walk. She didn't say anything else. I hugged her. And every time you're around by snow featuring Roxy Carter, followed our steps. I lifted Jennifer's phone number from my pocket, balled it up, and threw it away. Yeah, Daisy is bossy, domineering, a pain in the ass sometimes, and weighs a ton. But I love her, and she loves me. That's the end of that story.
Wow.
Coming of age story for a little guy who who came of age at this party.
Wow. So when you're writing, how, like, do you have an outline? Do you write down an outline? First of all, do you write on paper first, or do you type it as you're like?
I type it. I used to write on paper. Now I type it.
Okay.
So I do type. And then there's things like thoughts may come to my mind. I write down on paper and things like that. So that there's so
Right.
I bring it in. But
Okay.
it's just all imagination.
So as it's coming to you, you just type it as you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do the same. It's just however it comes up.
Mhm.
When you were younger, were you considered or told that you had an active imagination, or were you?
Yes, I did have a very active imagination as a kid. Yeah. I mean, I did
you
all
have
kinds of
imaginary
things.
friends?
I didn't have any imaginary friends, but I had imaginary things, like I made cards, football players, and all kinds of stuff like that.
Okay. I see Dr. Dan Snowden coming in. Before you came on, I read the acknowledgments from my book, and I definitely had an overactive imagination. I think I still do. And my parents, as any other parent does, when people say, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And, they would say, oh, you should, say a lawyer, say a doctor, say this, say that. And I was like, nope, I want to be a garbage man. And I would never say anything else. Maybe like, oh, no, she wants to be a teacher. I was like, no, I want to be a garbage man, because it seemed like the garbage man always got the good stuff, And so I would make up songs about being a garbage man and all the things that I got from and it was called What You Gonna Get from the Garbage Man. And I would I would sing about all the things that you got. Now, my family swears that I had an imaginary mouse, but I'm convinced that was my brother that had the mouse. I don't remember having an imaginary. That's another show, another time, another type of therapeutic moment. I want to say hello to Dr. Dan Snowden. Dan, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How about yourself?
I'm good. As you can see, I am filling in the big shoes of Nathaniel Gadsden and trying to hold down the fort while he is taking care of some things this evening. So I am hopefully filling his shoes well, though could never do it fully like he does. But we've got Neil on with us, and Neil just shared, I guess it was the ending of one of his stories that he's quite famous for cliffhangers, I think. And so even in the ending, now I need to know what happened in the beginning. Even though you told me the ending, I need to know the beginning. So Dan, are you going to be sharing with us this evening?
Yes, I certainly will.
Okay. So we will get to you in a few minutes. We'll have you share next, and then we'll just do a round robin. So Dan, I know that you do lots of different things and you have lots of different hobbies. I'm curious, well, first of all, because you have a different style of poetry, when you write, do you write it longhand on paper and then type it, or do you write from your mind straight to the computer?
Well, I generally write mine out first in longhand, and then I go to
Okay.
the computer later and type it in.
Okay.
But
Okay.
unlike some people have more of a natural talent for this sort of thing, I really have to sit and think about it first before I put anything on paper, so that I can make it and so I can engage it in verse properly.
Okay. Okay. So when you were younger, did you have an active imagination? What was your imagination like growing up?
Oh, well, I guess I could say my imagination was pretty much like everyone else's. It was pretty much vivid from time to time, although I would actually base it on stuff that I may have seen previously, like Sesame Street or the Electric Company, for example. I would try it that way.
Okay. Okay. I grew up with Sesame Street and the Electric Company. Do you remember Zoom? Were you?
Yes,
Zoom?
that too. Actually, Zoom, with Zoom, I actually did some of the experiments that were shown there. I actually tried doing them. I saw them on there. I said, I wonder if this works. Let me try it. Oh, well, what do you know? It does.
It does, yeah. I think we just told our ages without unintentionally just told our ages. We should have said Blue's Clues or something like that. So, Dan, if you don't mind, are you ready? Can you share something with us?
Oh, sure. I'd be happy to.
Okay.
I think a good place to start would be one of my, this would be the pilot poem I did for the Writer's Wordshop called Different.
Okay.
Yes, it's true, people. I'm very different from most mainstream persons. I tend to enjoy a somewhat unusual array of things that you'll find among these verses. Board games and game shows, model kit contests and comic book conventions. These are events that I revel in with purely good intentions. But it does not stop here. Oh my, heavens no. We still have museums and nature shows to go. Rock and mineral clubs, gem and jewelry shows. When it comes to events like these, most anything goes. There's more where this came from. Here, take a peek. This person sees things like political and poetry events simply très chic. And let's not forget about another matter I favor. Sporting events, both as participant and spectator, fall among the many things that I savor. Yes, it's true, I am very different, as anyone can plainly see, but these things that make me different are simply things that make me me.
Wonderful, wonderful. And
And that would be
agree.
true for just about anybody, as far as I would know, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was just gonna say, and I agree. Isn't it a good thing though that we're all so unique and can still have things in common, and be, similar in some aspects, but yet so different. I think it's a beautiful. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Oh yes, I would agree. Call it a set of talents, if you would.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what are you working on anything? What are you working on? What do you have going on? Tell us a little bit about any writing or anything that you're working on, because like I said, I know you have different hobbies and got a lot of irons in the fire. So what are you working on these days?
Well, I'm crafting a couple more poems. These will be about animals. One of them will be about the more simple types, like those sponges, the poriferates they call them, and another one's going to be about the animal group that the jellyfish and the corals belong to.
Okay.
So I'm working on that, and also I'm just going to go on Amazon.com and get some items so I can put together craft another scene. In this case, it'll be of the model kit variety, but this one will be the giant leeches. If I can just find the right equipment, I'll be able to get that done.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's pretty impressive. I like your poetry when you write about different things like that. I know there was one. Was it arachnids? Was that what it was?
Yes. Well, there was arthropods, but arachnids are part of it. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it's really neat. And of course, once again, here's something that you shared with us, and and we remember.
Appreciate it. And the business of, I mentioned leeches earlier, and those things actually appear in a poem I did called The Worms.
Okay. What is your motivation to write for those things, or write about those things? What motivates you to write about those?
Well, that's more related to a long-standing hobby of mine that's called zoology.
Okay.
Zoology, I had always liked animal groups for some reason or other, both the living ones and the extinct ones as well. So I figured once I joined the Writers Workshop, when I actually learned how to put things to verse, I said, maybe I'll write about some of these animal groups. And it looks like it's worked so far.
Excellent. I want to say hello to Lizelle Powder. Hey, Lizelle, how are you?
I'm good.
As you can see, I am Nate Gadsden tonight. I say it again, filling in very, very, very big shoes, and hopefully doing it justice and making him proud. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Tell us again where you're coming in from.
Okay, originally from Trinidad, living in New York.
Okay.
Hey,
Are you going to share
Lizelle,
some?
I got something to say. Excellent. Lizelle, how's things working with this situation?
I have chosen the back roads. I have to divert my direction. So far I'm okay.
Okay. Lizelle, are you working on anything, or well, first of all, are you going to share something with us tonight?
Yes, I could share something.
Okay. Are you working on anything, any projects or anything that you're working on?
Actually, I have to do some submissions for the school that I used to work, SUNY Westbury. They have a news, like a newspaper that they bring out every month. So
Okay.
I'm submitting my poems to the newspaper. So I have to do that this weekend. And also tomorrow I will be reciting a poem at an event in Brooklyn.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lizelle. What kind of you want to talk about? Do you want to tell us about the event and what it is?
It's one of my friends. She is a apostle, and she is it's a tribute to her mom.
Okay.
And the whole program is dedication to her mom. They're from Haiti.
Okay.
And her mom died, but her mom was like a giver and like a foster mom to other children who didn't have parents. So she kind of like adopted them and was generous and give of herself and time for them to take care of them and, get stuff, was like, she was just like everybody. To me, I don't know her, but what I'm feeling is like she was everybody's comfort in that sense. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, are you ready to share? Do you need a moment before we share? Are you ready? And are you going to share that poem that you're doing tomorrow with us since we won't be there?
Yeah, I could get it. Let me just hold on.
Okay. Great. While you're doing that, Neil, do you do or where do you do speaking engagements or anything?
I've done some with local bookstores. There's a lot of independent stores.
Okay.
Independent bookstores, and I've done things with them.
Okay. Anything coming up?
No, not right now. I've been just isolated from everything, just in seclusion.
Wow. See, the best writers, that's what they do. We have to go and find them, waiting outside your door for the next book, waiting for that next book to drop. I'm telling you. Okay, Lizelle, you ready?
Yes. The title of the poem is called Oh Mama. I told her that she wanted me to write something on her mom, so this is what I wrote. Oh Mama. Mama, you come from humble beginnings that started from the backbone of ancestors, grassroots from civilization of culture that stretched far and wide from the motherland of Haiti. Mama, your generosity and outstretched hand of compassion saved the lives of the innocent. They were lost, but God had a plan that moved in your spirit to reach out to the despair. Mama, you heed the call. You were chosen. Even your own gave permission to be a labor of strength to young voices, young minds that kept on searching for that one thing they couldn't find. Mama, you didn't neglect your own, as your soul was a house of refuge, giving up yourself, giving up your time, your energy, your space, your place, your heart that burns and beats in desperation to care, to share, to save, to love the unwanted, the unspoken, silent voices that couldn't fend for themselves, lost. Mama, oh mama, with a grieved heart, at times your spoken word was your truth. You was an angel of light. They that walked this earth with grace, humility, and strength. Hungry mouths were fed, even a place to rest their head. You were life. Mama, I know you. I felt your passion, your determination. Even your name is carried amongst leaders. They were part of that journey with you. Even now they praise you. Mama, thank you. Thank you, Mama, as you rest in eternal peace with all your sacrifices. It will not be forgotten. A chosen servant of the mighty God, giving up yourself, even in heaven.
Wow, very nice. Well done, well done. I am sure that her family will appreciate that. Beautifully done, beautifully done. So did you write this specifically for her?
You know, somebody asked me that, and I said, you know, in a way, it's kind of like for mothers, you know, that, you know, because mothers are, you know, the backbone of everything. So it's basically for her, but basically for the mothers, basically for women who lost their mothers and know what their mother did, you know, how their mother stand out, how she was a pillar of strength for the children, for whoever came around her, how she would give up herself, give up her heart, you know. So it's sort of representing mothers in the whole, because a friend asked me that, you know, she said, girl, you say that if you say that for all mothers.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
So I've asked Neil and Dan this question. When you write, do you write longhand first, or do you write directly to the computer? Do you know, think it and type it? How do you write?
Sometimes both. I write on the computer, and sometimes I write on the paper and then put it on the computer.
Okay. Yeah. I think I do. I think I said that I type it, but if I'm somewhere where I don't have access, like I have my book that I've written in, and I find little things, like I don't know if you all will be able to see this, but I do Sudoku puzzles, and I don't know where I was, but wherever I was, I decided to write on, you know, to just write on the Sudoku. A poem came to mind, and apparently it was a good one because I wrote like on this side, then on the other side, here and here, and then I guess I didn't have enough room. So there's another page here. So I've got like 2 pages of this poem that I wrote on the Sudoku puzzle, and receipts. I've got like receipts and little pieces of paper that I've written on. Apparently, I must have been at work on one because it's on the notebook paper from work. So I do write typically, I write as I'm thinking and type at the same time, but I find that I also write on the backs of things and little pieces of paper that I've found to write on. I also have, not that I did it during church, but apparently the paper that they use to print the church bulletins on, very good for writing poetry. I don't think I did it while I was at church, or at least I'm going to plead the fifth on that, but very good for writing poetry. Let's see, let's check. It is 8:24. What we'll do is we will have another video from Minister Chris. And then after that, we'll kind of talk a little bit more. I have a poem that I would like to share, and then we'll go back around. And I do have a couple of announcements and things coming up that I'd like to talk about as well. So Minister Chris, if you are available, we're ready for another video.
They love to see black men in chains. From the transatlantic slave trade to modern day mass incarceration, the old and the new Jim Crow remain. They love the normalization of our oppression and the way the system keeps the oppressed so tame. They love when Sam Cooke sings about change. So as long as words don't manifest to things, they love the way we wait for change, the way we beg for change, the way we slave 60 hours in a week for change, the way we rob, steal, and kill for change. They love our perpetual state of poverty. They love the way we sell our souls for cheese, the way we love the trap, the way we jig and bleed to the beats of gangster rap. They love Lil Wayne and 2 Chainz, both mental and physical. They love to see black men in 2 Chainz. They love and hip hop, especially when hip hop keeps black bodies twerking and black minds deranged. They love our irony, the way we are economically crippled, that we raise every payday to feed the economy. They love our hyper-materialism and hyper-consumerism. They hate that the black man has that Mansa Musa in him. So they love to see black men in chains, but they hate to see black men as kings. They hate the hostility of El Hajj Malik Shabazz, but they love to quote Dr. King. They love Beyonce until Beyonce reverberated her people's pains. They hated formation. They hated when we are informed. They love to see black men in formation up until the Black Panthers reign. Now they love to see black men in formation, but only in basketball games. They love to pack stadiums and clap for LeBron James, but the intellectual prowess of Langston drove them insane. They love to feed blacks misinformation, and they hate when our leaders make it plain, because they love to see black men in bondage. What they love most is when a black man is slain.
Woo. I feel like we could just play that again. Just, play it, turn it up and play it again for the people in the back. That was really good. Anybody, any thoughts on that? Anything?
Well, that's one way to speak truth. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I love the way he put it in. And sometimes you hear those poems and it doesn't necessarily mean that you agree with everything, though I agree with what he said. But not only what he said, but the way he said it. Very, very nice. Sometimes I don't know if Minister Chris knows what I'm thinking, like what I'm going to do and what's next, or if we're on the same page here or not. But once again, that was another good one. Any other thoughts about the video that we just saw? And I wonder,
it was really great. The lyrics, the words, you know, it's just depicting how they see us, how they see a Black person. You know.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I wanted to share, I want to share a poem, and one of the things, and we'll go around and I'll ask, but one of the things that often gets me writing is when something happens in our community, or something happens in society, I guess, or in the States, something. And that's why I said this video kind of segues into that. And so I grew up in Buffalo. And so many things have been happening in Buffalo, but in May of 2020, there was a mass shooting at a Tops grocery store in Buffalo. And that happened to be the grocery store that was just right around the corner from where my house was before I left, where Taft was born. My son was born. He wasn't born in that house, but that's where we lived. But anyway, so I know that grocery store. And, if you have a grocery store that's in your community, that grocery store like the back of your hand. And the people that you see regularly come and go. You just know certain things because that's your grocery store. So it really hit me kind of hard. And I knew several of the individuals that were actually murdered by the young man that walked into the grocery store. So with everything that's happening and some of the things that have happened and are happening now in the news, it kind of took me back to this. And I wanted to share this poem. Before I do that, I want to say hello to Reverend Dr. Nathaniel Gadsden. He said, "Great workshop tonight. You guys are wonderful, wonderful word warriors." So he's peeking in on us and making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So thank you again for the opportunity to do this. And we hope that you are pleased with what we've done with the Writers' Workshop tonight. So I wanted to share this poem. It's a poem it's called Store Policy. It's about the shooting that happened on May 14th. And I'd like for us to just, and I feel like when we say their names, we honor who they are, not necessarily what happened to them, but who they are and who they were in the community. So victims of the shooting massacre at the Jefferson Avenue Tops Market in Buffalo, New York on Saturday, May 14th, 2022. Roberta A. Drury, age 32, Margus Morrison, age 52, Andre McNeil of Auburn, New York, age 53, Aaron Salter of Lockport, New York, age 55, Geraldine Talley of Buffalo, New York, age 62, Celestine Cheney of Buffalo, 65, Hayward Patterson, 67, Catherine Massey of Buffalo, 72, Pearl Young of Buffalo, 77, and Ruth Whitfield of Buffalo, 86. And this poem is called Store Policy. Providing sustenance for my family or a simple errand to the grocery store has become a daunting task to do. A community grocery store has become a battleground, and we need a cleanup on aisle 2022. Bullets spraying as mist on the fresh produce of lives not fully ripened, futures shucked and left as rotted spoil. The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are canned good with pickled unalienable rights, tattered carts with square wheels designed to carry unseen dreams and yet claim hopes to aisles of better times, better days, daily bread. Deli sliced cries for help silenced by frozen terrors. This is not how a grocery list works. Lifeless bodies left as raw meat, void of the dignity of a natural death. Cashiers no longer ask paper or plastic. This bodega now calls for cremation or casket. Saran-wrapped innocence, pierced by skewered intentions, hate marinated and sauteed in idiocy. Aisle 2022 is a disaster zone. How do you clean an aisle when peril permeates the whole establishment? Customer service for frequent shoppers preyed upon by a racist customer covered in ignorance, fried deep in the thought of cancel culture, in a community that can't be canceled and a culture that won't be compromised. We need a cleanup in aisle 2022. Why should I be afraid to walk in a store where I have naturalization and citizenship? My ancestors purchased my right to wander aimlessly along the corridors of this country, procuring the nutriments of life. A welcome patron in a chain that would appreciate his patronage while plundering and marauding the community it serves. The adversary in tactical gear carefully and correctly calculated and surmised his welcome. As he roamed throughout the state, prowling like a roaring lion, seeking a melanated prey to devour. And though the whole store is in shambles, he left a gravesite mess to clean up in aisle 2022. His only objective, inventory shrinkage, to steal, kill, and destroy, to pillage the incorruptibility of a people that thrive and feast on love and determination. Our storehouse holds a history of persecution and exclusion, resentment, makes them attempt to shoplift our ability to rebuild. Our catalog includes a resolve to bounce back. We will surpass and exceed any and every attempt to starve, hinder, or arrest our existence. They walked into the store with the simple intent to feed their families and entertain their friends. They left as martyrs, lives assigned to catechize those that would start the cleanup process. We will not be consumers, spending our lives without coupon, compensation, or consideration. Our exponential contributions have been stamped with the best if used by. Our lives are being liquidated before the expiration date. The satisfaction guarantee has been breached and our place at the table is at stake. We can no longer afford to wait for a disemboweled passage of what is rightfully ours. As we announce the necessity for a cleanup on a nationwide aisle 2022 on a global PA system and platform, with payment in hand, there will be no refund decree for the consequences of inaction. The failure of justice, restoration, and even-handedness. As the policy states, we will not stand to wait for change that won't come soon enough. The expense of the safety of our people is an inflation we are prepared to afford. A thorough cleansing of aisle 2022 is not an option. Undiluted action and deliberate service, like payment, is due on demand. The check was written in the form of the blood of 10 lives and is backed by a community that, though traumatized, will heal and is destined to rise again. Our resolve and perseverance dictate that our resources are sufficient. Please be advised, this check will not bounce lest the whole store burns down. There needs to be a cleanup on aisle 2022. That is the store policy.
Powerful. Love it.
Thank you.
Yep. Aptly
Neil,
named.
you're on mute, Neil. I'm sorry, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, yep. Aptly named and creatively executed.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, Neil, what were you saying?
Yeah, aisle 2022. You know, first, when you told me to go to the kingdom, my first thing came to my mind was Buffalo, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you touched on it, man. The mindset that they have and they carry. There definitely needs to be a cleanup. Because these people, I mean, blacks are at risk, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think people realize how much at risk Black people are. To the depth of the level that, I mean, that's when you start getting into political stuff. When you start getting to the political things and, you know, they talk about like overturning Roe versus Wade. If they can overturn Roe versus Wade, because they can put it, what they do is they probably put it back into the states, into the hands of the states.
Right.
What happens if they put slavery back into the hands of the states? If they put everything back into the hands of the states, what can happen? I mean, just what can the mindset of these people do if they have the power? I mean, you know, that's how the Civil War went down, because of the states. States want to be in control over the federal government. You know, we
Right.
do what we want to do. I mean,
You know, I think that that's the beauty of what we do and what we have here, you know, with the Writers Workshop, and the beauty of what each of us do. We're able to take those things, and I know, and I don't remember what it was, but I remember one of your stories, Neil, that you read, and it was written from a whole nother era. I don't remember which one, but I know it was written back when, you know, but it was very apropos to what's happening now. So it was sort of like you took a story and you told a story that it's a fiction story, but it was true to what was happening. If I'll think about it, I can remember it. But it was you talked about how it wasn't of course it wasn't the 17 seconds, but it was pretty much the haves and sort of the haves and the have-nots. And it was something that happened, but it was an older story, but the story wasn't old, but I mean, it was from another era. And but it was really kind of what's happening now. And I think that with the power of our pens, we can tell these stories. Even Lizelle, in what you shared, you know, in your poem, you know, about Mama, you know, talking about standing on, you know, an ancestor's shoulders and strength and holding her grief, but still loving and still giving of herself. You're telling the story. And that's why I asked, was that specifically about her? Because you're telling the story of so many, you know, so many people. And Dan, and the stories that you tell. And my favorite poem that you have, Dan, where you're talking about what's happening and what people are doing with, you know, what it's people. Now I'm not going to get it right. The BANA, the Build Nothing Nowhere, or something like that. I can never remember the name.
Environmental phobias is what you're referring to, right? The environmental phobias, because that was one of them.
Say it again.
The environmental phobias, that was one of them. That was
Yes.
Bananas was one of the acronyms.
Yes, the environmental phobias. I never remember the name of it, but I always remember. I remember the day that I realized that those were acronyms too. It took me a moment to catch on to that one. But I think we have an opportunity and somewhat, I don't know, somewhat of an obligation, or at least I take it that way, to talk about those things and to say that this is what happened, and is particularly with Buffalo, being that that's one of my hometowns. I'm from Buffalo by way of by proxy of South Carolina. So I grew up in Buffalo, and I know that community very well. And so I know firsthand what it did to the community. And I know the trauma that entire community has faced over and over and over again. And again, just in December, with the blizzard that they just had. And that was awful in and of itself. So I think it's important that as we're writing, that we write about those, we write about those things. Let's see. So I want to make sure that we get our last video in. And then I do, after we get our video in, I want to talk about a couple of events that are coming up for the Writers Workshop. And then if we have time, we'll go back around and do a Red Robin, as Nate calls it. Minister Chris, I think we've got one more video left. Yes.
Be pleasing in your sight. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart, let it be pleasing in your sight. We declare your majesty, majesty. We declare your majesty. I declare your majesty, majesty. I declare your majesty. Worship. Everybody worships. Everybody everywhere worships something. Whatever captivates the heart's affection, the mind's attention, and the soul's ambition essentially has our worship. So she claimed to love him. And every Sunday during service, she worshipped from the bottom of her mouth. She was swayed by the motions of the instrument as her lips were synced with the beats, as she ignored the beatings he went through. To her, it was just a lip service. Okay, can you worship without a song? Or do you just love the chord progression? What exactly do you call worship? You see, worship is not a compilation of songs that sit on the fence of our lips but never gets to the heart. Worship is not a genre. It's a gene present in the DNA of redeemed. Worship is an outpouring of our lives led by the Spirit of God and rooted in His truth. Worship is living out our lives in reverence. It is a lifestyle. Worship is not gyration or hype. Worship is a relationship. But the truth is, a lot of Christians settle for mere outward formalities of religion, dry ceremonies of worship, and seeing the church as a place of social intercourse. I see a lot of people worshiping the voice and not the God. I see a lot of people lifting up their hands and not the heart. I see a lot of people surrendering their bodies as burdens and not surrendering lives. I see a lot. This emptiness has got young people fading away, that they choose now to dress up the outside, make it look nice and neat. Church, rising up because the next generation is rising up. The one that baffles me more is after a Sunday service, somebody walk up to me and tell me, Sister Chidera, that worship did not go real. So while we are busy worshiping, you're busy criticizing and analyzing. Listen, Potter's treasure is just a ladder to God's presence. You choose to climb or not. This set of people feel like a music magnet because they paid attention to how the music is poised and not listening to the words. All right, back to me and the beginning. You see, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning. I just left Earth. The logistics to this trip, it's unclear. All I know is no more stressing. I'm about to meet the one who gave me all my life and blessing. It is time to hear His voice. It is time to feel His embrace. It is time to see His face. So much fun, so much love, so much color, so much music, so much wind, so much. I can see Him. I can feel His presence. Wait. I can see Jesus. His appearance changed from the inside out right before my eyes. Sunlight poured from His face. His clothes were filled with so much light. Suddenly music saturated the atmosphere. It was around me, it was above me, it was inside of me. It penetrated my very being. Wave after wave of powerful music in another dimension surged the landscape. Amazement. Again took my breath. Elion, Elion. Most High. Elion, 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 Lord Most High. Immediately I bowed. Listen, there is one who sits on the throne, whose appearance is like the crystalline brightness of jasper. Out of this throne comes flashes of lightning, rumblings and peals of thunder. Around this throne are the four living creatures offering glory and honor about to the one who was, to the one who is, and to the one who is to come. Surrounding this same throne are the 24 elders, casting down their crown, saying, Thou art worthy, O Lord, is to receive glory, honor, and power, for he created all things, and nothing created him. I immediately again I bowed. I'm overwhelmed. I will exalt him. I will thank him. I will praise him. I will say he's my friend and my fortress. You're my ever-present help in time of need. I love you, God. I love you. And for eternity, I will say that I love you, Jesus. But he looks me in the face and says, do I know you? You dey whine me? You made me. You made me, so you know me. There must be a mistake. My leadership cannot be doing me here now. I was in church every Sunday. I praised you in poems and acting and music. I was the oldest member in the choir. There must be a mistake. Okay, don't use my real name. Use my stage name. Hopefully my face go show, my shoe go shine. Father, please. He looks away and tells me, depart from me, you walk out of iniquity. Immediately I started to feel flames. I could have stopped all this pain. It's me to blame. Father, please. Father, please. Please, Father, please. Father, please, I'm sorry. I could have stopped all this pain. It is me to blame. I feel flames. Father, please. You may be in church, but please try to stay in touch. You might claim to know all the hymns, but get to know him. I was two-faced and not an African queen. Guys, don't be dogs. Girls, don't be loose. I beseech you by the message of God to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. You see, we have 2 or 3 are gathered in his name. He's right there in our midst. So yes, I recognize his presence in our midst. But his presence beyond any geographical location is in the mental awakening of the consciousness of his divine presence within you. So tonight, I dare you to reset your worship. I dare you to worship the one who stretches the earth like a curtain. I dare you to worship the one who transcends time, yet remains the same. I dare you to worship Abba Father, who no be Abba made. I dare you to worship him in spirit and in reality. Yes. 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 In truth. You get it. If you don't get it, God bless you.
Wow. I think we're pretty much ready for the benediction. I thank you, Minister Chris. I feel like someone should be saying, won't you come? Would there be one? Won't you come?
We gotta give Chris the that's a tremendous talent to be able to put together these videos and present them. I mean, that takes a lot of insight, a lot of skills. I mean, And people got to recognize that that's itself is artistry. It's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to let them know that I recognize that every week. I mean, he
Absolutely.
just put together these poems and these artists.
Yes.
Sister Deb reminded me of Nina Simone.
Oh, wow. Yes, I could see that. Absolutely. Absolutely. I like, and I don't know if you all caught it, but well, from her name, she's Nigerian. But I like that even as she was speaking, she mixed in some pidgin English. So there were times where it may have sounded to some just like she just, said the wrong thing, or it wasn't the best grammar, but why you they worry me? I was like, why are you bothering me? And so it was that hit home for me. So that was very nice. Thank you, Minister Chris, for sharing that. Listen, we've got about 6 minutes left. So a couple of things that I would be instantly fired for not doing. So let's not have me lose my job today. So we have coming up in February, our Black History Month program. It will be on Sunday, February 19th, I believe, at the State Museum. Sunday, February 19th at the State Museum from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., excuse me, hosted by Nathaniel Gadsden's Writers Wordshop and Life Esteem Incorporated. It's Keeping the Culture Alive celebration, honoring those who preserve our history. It is free. The event is free, meaning for anyone that's not sure exactly what that means that you won't pay anything when you come in the door. We won't ask you for anything while you're there. It is free, and it is at the State Museum of Pennsylvania at 300 North Street on the corner of 3rd and Forster. We'll have, I believe, the drummers will be there. There will be vendors, poetry. We had an event a couple of weeks ago for Martin Luther King Jr. celebration, and was honoring the unsung heroes. And I believe that Nate has also made it so that we will be on this platform as well, so that those of you that are joining in by Facebook Live will be able to join in with us there as well. And we have a wonderful time. And I'm not sure exactly who all will be there. I imagine the Dwinneman drummers, we've had them in the past with the dancers, African dancers, Sister Mafalda. She is a stilt walker. And as a stilt walker, this woman also does African dance on these stilts. Had me in a Home Depot trying to debate whether I thought I could do it or not. But a wonderful opportunity for unsung heroes coming up. There will be vendors, so please come and support small businesses. And I believe, Minister Chris, there was something else that I think I was supposed to be announcing and discussing.
I'm sorry, my daughter here had my attention here a minute. Just about the invitation ongoing to join the Writers Workshop.
Okay, absolutely. So and just imagine, you guys, he does all of that on Friday nights. He does all of this for us on Friday nights from home on his evening off. But also we want to extend an invitation to anyone, the writers, we've talked about it a little bit already, to writers and things like that, to come and join us on Friday nights from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We are here, rain or shine, every Friday night, the first Friday night of the month. I believe we will continue, we'll go back to working with the youth. But for those of you that join us through this venue, we will still be available. So we are here with the Voice 17104 to celebrate our writing, to share our writing. As you all have heard, we've heard a wonderful story from Neil Owens in High Point, North Carolina, Lizelle Powder in New York City, Dan Snowden and myself right here in Harrisburg, and we've shared videos from all over. And so only thing missing is you, and you. So we certainly hope that you will, if you're listening, that you will consider joining us. And sometimes we have where people come in and we just are listeners, And sometimes we have people that come in and that are writers and want to try different things. The one thing that I can say that we have managed to do very well over the years is to be a safe, clean environment, meaning, we don't have a whole bunch of raunchiness and rowdiness going on, but just a place where we're respectful of each other's craft, of each other's art, of each other's styles. And we, as you've seen that we've done tonight, we promote each other and encourage each other. This is not an environment where, I'm not going to tell her that that was a good poem because I got a good poem too. No, this is a place where you can come and share. And as I said earlier, iron sharpens iron. So each of us are here to critique and encourage and support each other. And we're able to do it in a very kind, loving, generous, and professional way. So oftentimes I would think that I would not be the writer that I am today without the Writers Workshop and without each of you that are here and your contributions. I also want to say thank you to Minister Chris Thomas and the Voice 17104 for holding us down and for helping me be Nate Gadsden tonight. Thank you very much, Minister Chris Thomas. And the Voice 17104 is now also the Voice TV. If you didn't know that, so you can get your own TV station, get your own station. And so I'm sure we'll have Minister Chris Thomas to come on and tell us some more about that. Monday nights, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this, Monday nights from 6 to 7 p.m., myself and Tafno Chirionye have our podcast. It's called Let's Talk About It, a multi-generational approach to social events, current events. And last week we played The Family Feud and we had a good time. And so we'll be looking to do that again on Monday. So please come back and join us. And if you have an idea, or you can think of an idea for a show, Minister Chris Thomas at the Voice 17104 is exactly who you need to talk to. Neil, I can't help but think about how wonderful it would be for you to have a podcast where you're sharing your stories. I want to read them, but I think I like hearing them in your voice and hearing you read them. So just throwing it out there, just came to mind. Lizelle, I think you could do the same. And of course, Dan, you have a special niche for what you do because it's educational and it's done in a way where people of all ages, I know you often hear people say, oh, you should do this for children, but don't just limit it to children. I think people of all ages benefit from your writing and each of your writing styles. So having said all that, I will not hold us up because Nate doesn't like for us to hold Minister Chris Thomas up. So thank you, each of you, for joining us. Thank you for allowing me to fill these heavy, heavy shoes. And we will see you again next week. And as I say every time, next week is Bring a Friend Friday. So bring a friend with you and let's write together. We'll see you next week.
Okay, so long, everybody.
Have a good one. Thanks, Dan. Lizelle, Neil, thank you. Minister Chris Thomas, thank you.